An eccentric man is on the verge of becoming admired by some teens until he begins flute lessons for 5th grade students. He plays so poorly that the females flee. This is Atsushi, and he is nervous about his music test the next day. The next morning, his older sister Atsumi offers him a warm coat and scarf because the weather has turned cold, and they both go to school together. On the way, they discuss his concerns about the test until Atsumi meets Sei, who admires Atsushi's beauty. They then parted ways. On his way, Atsushi sees Sei again and shows her his warm coat, which leads a woman to believe he is a flasher. However, Atsushi is abruptly arrested by police, who incorrectly believe he is a criminal. Meanwhile, Atsumi spends time with Sei at the school. Sei teases her, claiming that her meals are high in calories, but she will not grow taller, so she does not need to drink milk. Still, Atsumi ends up drinking milk, and Sei mocks her. Later, they discuss Atsushi, and Sei believes he would be cute because he resembles Atsumi. When Atsumi returns home, she is greeted by Atsushi, who instantly wishes to play games. However, Atsumi interrupts him because she requires his assistance with shopping. While on their way to the store, Atsushi discovers Miss Rabbit, a costumed character, and becomes excited. However, the man within the costume is afraid of Atsushi's attitude and only offers sweets to Atsumi, believing Atsushi is an adult. Atsushi is depressed about being tall, but Atsumi cheers him up by assuring him that being tall is beneficial and that she likes him just the way he is. She instantly asks him to get some flour, and they both leave holding hands. Later, Sei unexpectedly invites Atsumi to join him for lunch. Atsumi treats her like a child, but they sit down nevertheless. During lunch, Sei shares nearly all of her meal with Atsumi, misunderstanding Atsumi's tiny stature for a lack of nutrients. After they complete their meal, Sei asks Atsumi about her ideal man. Every guy student close overhears with enthusiasm. Atsumi is taken aback but answers the inquiry. Sei claims her dream man is taller than 180 centimeters. Every male student is saddened, believing that is enormous. But when Atsumi says the same thing, everyone is relieved because the goal is still within grasp. Sei feels disappointed, believing that all tall men are hidden somewhere. She begins thinking about Atsushi riding his horse into the sunset. Meanwhile, Atsumi attempts to jolt her out of her reverie, while Atsushi sneezes elsewhere. Atsushi is going to begin physical education class at school. As a result, the boys urge him to speed up. His female teacher notices him, panics, and flees, leaving the boys wondering whether she was in a race. Atsushi doesn't have a partner for warm-ups, so he teams up with his teacher. He is initially pleased, but the teacher is overwhelmed and flees once more. At the school office, the teacher reveals that she attended an all-girls school and can't stand being around guys, as if all boys are like Atsushi. Another teacher assures her that Atsushi is the only one like this. Meanwhile, Atsushi is discussing with Hana about a suspicious man who is harassing youngsters. Atsushi consoles Hana by assuring her that he will protect her. However, he is mistaken for the suspicious man, detained, and returned home depressed, only to grieve in the dark while being consoled by his older sister. During the bean-throwing festival, Atsushi needs a demon costume. Atsumi instructs him to ask their neighbor Take, who loans him an Oni suit. Atsushi is ecstatic, unknowing that the costume is far too frightening for little children. His friends are impressed, but the younger children are afraid and hit him with beans with all their might. When Futami-sensei hears the noise, he arrives to investigate but accidentally runs into Atsushi. During the tumult, Atsushi accidentally touches her chest, and she flees in shock. Back home, Atsumi inquires about how things went. Atsushi replies sadly that he no longer wants to be a demon because no one gave him candy. Instead, they attacked him. Atsumi returns the outfit to Take, who admits to having the same problem. Atsumi firmly tells him to get a job. The next day, Atsushi yawns in class since he didn't get enough sleep. The girls ask him what kind of chocolate he prefers. When he responds, every kind, they laugh and depart joyfully. His pals tell him that he should share because eating so much alone would be unhealthy. That afternoon, Atsumi and Sei are conducting errands when Sei notices that Valentine's Day is approaching. She becomes extremely eager and says she wants to make chocolate. However, Atsumi ends up performing all of the labor. Sei offers to provide Atsumi some chocolate in lovely packaging. When Valentine's Day arrives, Atsushi receives chocolate from each female in his grade. Even his friends claim to have received chocolates to avoid shame. At home, Atsumi advises him to consume only 1 box per day and divide the remainder with her. Atsushi is hesitant until Atsumi opens Hana's homemade chocolate, which turns out to be a disaster reminiscent of a 5th grader's cookery. Later, Atsumi gets 3 movie tickets in a raffle, but is unsure what to do with them. Atsushi insists that she bring him along. Atsumi is worried because it is a romantic film, but Atsushi is unconcerned. He simply wants to go. She reluctantly agrees, and Atsushi enters the spinning mode of happiness. On the day of the film, Sei awaits the siblings. She anticipates 2 small children, but when she meets Atsushi, she becomes flustered by his appearance. She misinterprets Atsumi's comments and concludes that Atsushi is an older single man. At the movies, the girls cry over a Titanic ripoff, while Atsushi falls asleep. After that, Sei thanks both of them but privately becomes optimistic about her feelings, while Atsushi remains groggy, still a 5th grader. Hana later invites Atsushi to her house for the doll festival, and he is excited to attend. However, Atsumi is put off by his poor fashion sense and mismatched donated clothes. She eventually finds the right clothing for him, which happens to be the same one he wears practically every day. Atsushi joyously arrives at Hana's house, but is stopped at the door by Hana's mother, who misidentifies him as a suspicious guy and refuses to let him in. He returns home with sadness. Atsumi then makes him a cake for the doll festival, promising that they will eat takeaway and celebrate together. This makes Atsushi delighted, but Atsumi advises him to encourage his buddies to prepare their parents in advance. Meanwhile, Hina is wondering if she has a problem. Take returns to see the siblings and gives Atsushi some of his clothes, claiming that he recently broke up with his ex and does not want to be reminded of her. Atsushi, being the child that he is only thrilled to receive new clothes. Later, Atsumi gives Take some meal in gratitude because he has been giving Atsushi every piece of clothes he no longer wears, which turns out to be all of his ex's gifts. Take also reveals that he resigned his work to avoid running with his ex, but this came at a cost, as his mother no longer feeds him. She's tired of him quitting jobs after each breakup. Atsumi believes this is a stupid reason, but Take is unconcerned and instead recalls a time in high school when Atsumi promised to look after him. Taking advantage of that memory, he inquires whether she will continue to care for him as promised. Atsumi grudgingly declines, so Take decides to work part-time. But instead of something serious, he ends himself washing his mother's laundry for 500 yen. White Day arrives, a traditional day when boys who receive chocolate on Valentine's Day repay the favor. Atsumi reminds Atsushi that he must offer gifts, and he proudly displays the ingredients he purchased for baking. Atsumi wants to go because she usually ends up cooking for him, but Atsushi grabs her and begs for her assistance. She eventually agrees and inquires how many girls offered him chocolates. To her surprise, not only the females at his school, but also the neighborhood brought him gifts. Finally, Atsumi bakes biscuits, while Atsushi creates abstract art for Hina as a special gift. Atsushi's buddies at school are impressed by the abundance of chocolates he received for Valentine's Day. They tell him that girls are concerned about their weight, so they will assist him eat the chocolates to avoid being accused later. Before they can dig in, Futami-sensei enters and confiscates all of the sweets. Atsushi still manages to give Hina her present, but she is perplexed when she receives his strange-looking homemade card. Summer break is approaching, and Atsushi is hurting because he has not completed any of his allotted homework. Instead of focusing on it, he wastes time acting exactly like Take. Atsumi thinks that he may be unable to concentrate at home and advises him to visit the library. He does, and there he encounters Sei, who misidentifies him as a 5th grade teacher rather than Atsumi's younger brother. After a brief conversation, Sei expresses her need to go. Atsushi, with good intentions, says he wishes she will stay, but she misinterprets it as a loving confession and rushes off. The next day, Atsushi still hadn't completed his assignment. He runs into Hina and begs her to let him peek into hers. Unfortunately, some adjacent adults misinterpret his remarks and assume he is saying something indecent. They take him away, leaving Hina stunned and clutching her book. Soon after, traffic safety registration is implemented as a measure to protect youngsters. Futami-sensei encourages Atsushi to properly introduce himself to the authorities so that they remember his face and don't arrest him by mistake. He does, but the female cop misinterprets, believing he is hitting on her, and becomes agitated. The following day, Atsushi walks cheerfully with Hina, relieved that everything is now safe. But he is caught again, his belongings are confiscated, and cops suspect him of attempting to abduct another child. Eventually, Futami-sensei must gather the entire class to bail him out of the police station once more. The cherry blossoms bloom, and the siblings attend the Hanami event, which brings people together under cherry trees to share food and drinks. Atsushi is overjoyed and drags his sister like a rag doll to a takoyaki stall, where Take is busy pondering how Atsushi will eventually prefer dumplings to takoyaki. He then wonders aloud whether Atsushi will marry a wealthy older woman someday. Atsumi scolds him, reminding him that he should try more, as his mother constantly tells him. On their walk to another stand, they come across a large number of inebriated people, even in the morning. They also meet Futami-sensei, who is intoxicated with her co-workers. She initially misidentifies Atsushi as Atsumi, but as he clarifies, another teacher approaches Atsushi and compliments him on his attractive figure. This event almost gets Atsushi arrested again, but he and Atsumi manage to escape the inebriated teachers. Meanwhile, Take presents food as a tribute, joking about preferring dumplings over takoyaki, this time making a cheeky reference to the professor's attributes. The new school year has begun, and Atsushi is delighted to meet the first graders. Unfortunately, they mistook him for a teacher, which frightened him. Futami-sensei runs in, explaining to the children that he is not a teacher. The pupils then suggest that if he isn't a teacher, he must be her boyfriend, which she flatly refuses. Meanwhile, the new pupils mistake Atsumi for a toddler and whisper about her being a genius who skipped grades. This may have happened if it hadn't been outlawed in Japan. Sei intervenes and tries to resolve the situation by delivering a lengthy 1-hour speech about how amazing Atsumi is. The kids become bored with the speech and depart. Atsushi thanks Sei as she blushes with embarrassment. Later, Atsushi's buddies are excited to see his new bicycle, but are disappointed when they discover it has training wheels. Atsushi adds that he fell hard the day he bought it, so Atsumi and their mother place the training wheels on to keep him safe. His pals accept this, but then Hina appears. She suspects the lads are taunting Atsushi, but when she notices his crimson face, she understands he doesn't know how to ride a bike properly. His 3 friends decide to teach him by trial and error. They take him to a grassy area near the river, where he keeps trying, falling, and getting back up. With Hina's support, he recovers fast every time. He accidentally runs over Tetsuya and Tendo during practice, but he ultimately learns to ride. Atsushi proudly recommends that they bike together, but his pals are too fatigued to continue. Futami-sensei later gives homework on dreams for the future. Atsushi claims he simply wants to be normal, which saddens the class. Atsumi receives the same assignment and reveals she wants to be a nurse, a police officer, or anything else that requires a uniform. She gushes, adding she would look gorgeous in those roles. At home, Atsumi struggles to make a decision, while Atsushi informs her that he has chosen video game developer. However, when he sees a firefighter on television, he feels indecisive. He then decides to seek advice from Take, despite Atsumi's objections that it is impolite to ask a 32-year-old unemployed guy still living with his mother about his future plans. When Atsushi asks, Take responds playfully by giving him a dream that every man has at some point in his life. As a result, Atsushi confidently states in class that his dream is to become an adult movie actor, shocking everyone and aggravating the teacher. Later, Atsushi invites some friends over, and Atsumi offers to cook sweets for them. Atsushi becomes extremely thrilled. That night, Atsumi finds she made way too much food because Atsushi only invited 2 friends. Seeing the leftovers, she decides to share some with Take and summons Sei, who arrives. When Sei sees Atsushi, she mistaken him for the neighbor who gave clothes to Atsumi's younger brother. Assuming he is unemployed, she delivers him a sincere, supportive speech to cheer him up, perplexing Atsushi and his companions. Sometime later, the siblings accompany their parents to a hot spring. At first, they have difficulties with yukata sizes. Atsushi and Atsumi fit fine, while the parents' adult robes do not fit at all. They eventually resolve the situation, and Atsushi goes to the large bath alone, while Atsumi wanders off. She begs a small girl for assistance, but the kid mischievously brings her to the men's bath. Atsumi is embarrassed and horrified when Atsushi almost calls her out. To cover it up, she knocks him out and takes him out of the bathtub. Later, their parents believe her behavior was due to dizziness, but when Atsushi tries to explain, Atsumi silences him by cramming food into his mouth. Thank you for watching to this point. For the anime name, check the comment section. For part 2 and more interesting anime recaps, don't forget to like and subscribe. We got other anime recaps for you. Check our playlist or choose a video. Thanks again for watching.